Welcome to Envisioned Broadcasting Radio, EB Radio. EB Radio. Your station for empowerment presents Mom Boss Talk Radio, a show that brings real life, real moms, and real experiences to empower mom bosses everywhere to be ambitious, highly driven, fierce, fabulous, and fearless. Mom Boss Talk Radio begins now.
Welcome, Mom Bosses. Welcome. Can I tell you, I am extremely excited because we are back and we are all together. So you have myself, which is Jerisha, we have Stephanie, and we have Megan. And when I tell y'all, we have absolutely missed y'all. We have missed y'all. And so today we are going to just jump right in because I feel like the topic and what we're going to be talking about, and really what Stephanie is going to bring forth today, it can be very heavy. And so I'm just going to let Stephanie just really jump in. But before we do that, come on in, ladies, say hello. Say hello.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, I have missed you all too. It's like I was so excited. I've been watching my messages all day long, so I was so excited when I saw the messages. Like, man, it's kind of like a kid going to a candy store, but it's just so refreshing, when you have a busy day to wind down in the evening and to just have a conversation and just converse together on different things that we know that we all go through. And so it's just such a joy I look forward to it.
Yes.
I've been wondering, I'm like, when are we going live, y'all? Come on, I miss you ladies. Let's go. Come on.
I know.
I was like, it's gonna work. Praise God. Hallelujah.
Yes. Thank you, Lord. It is absolutely. But I'm gonna jump right into it. And like I said, we're gonna talk about processing grief and a journey towards healing because like I said, today I just want to share some thoughts on a topic that is close, that's near and dear to my heart, which is grief. Because we all, at some point in time, experience a loss at some point in our lives, and it's okay to acknowledge that healing takes time. Whether we've lost a loved one, a relationship, or something else, meaningful. Grief can be overwhelming, and we all, know the 5 stages of grief. But not everyone, goes through the grief in the order that they actually come in. There's the denial. That's often denial is one of the, to me, that was one of my main things is denial. You don't want to accept the grief. Individuals may struggle to accept it and the reality of the loss. And we start, then we may go through the bargaining stage, and then we come back to the anger, the depression. So you're kind of back and forth. And so I was kind of back and forth, and I actually talked about those different things in my book because I have seen people, struggle with depression from other reasons and never thought that grief would put you in that state of mind. And so it's once the initial shock wears off of you, you actually end up depressed. And so that was just one of the things, that really put me over the edge. And, grief is it's not a linear process. It comes in waves sometimes. It kind of reminds you of a roller coaster, and especially when it's unexpected. It just comes crashing down over you. And so you just don't see it coming. And so, and especially sometimes it's when we least expect it, especially if it's a sudden death. And it can really leave you just in a really bad state of mind. And so it's important to allow ourselves to deal with it, to cry, to feel those emotions. You can't keep them bottled up inside. It's okay to not be okay. And I tell people that all the time because everybody thinks they don't really need help dealing with it, but everybody needs help dealing with those issues. And during those challenging times, you have to realize that you need to reach out to family and to friends. Sometimes you even have to seek professional help, which is very, very, that's one topic that I really want to tell people. You must seek professional help because, you have your family, you have your friends, your church family, but a counselor, a professional counselor is a person that you need to seek the most. And that was very important for me and my children. We did go to counseling, and it really helped us, move through the stages and really get over some of the hurt, some of the anger. And some of those feelings that we were actually feeling, our counselor was, and to this day, her and I are still friends to this day. 21 years later, we're still
Wow.
friends. And so,
Mm.
but she helped us, she helped us during these challenging times to, kind of remind us that we're not alone on this journey. And she helped us move through our journey more smoothly. And I really, really appreciate her. And I was able to use her name in my book and the counseling center that we actually went to. Also, I was able to reference that in my book because it's still in existence today. And so that's very, it was called the Pelton Children. And so anyway, they still exist today. And I encourage anyone that needs to go to counseling to seek this center. She's no longer a counselor there. She's moved on to a different profession, but the center still exists, and it's still very, very helpful to a lot of adults and children.
Mhm. Mhm. Now I know you've mentioned, like you shared a little bit about, your story, your journey of, just going through grief, and certainly you just shared with us now. Um, but I guess give us if you can tell us for those, I mean, like we kind of know, but for those that may not know, if and only if you want to share, Stephanie, if
Okay.
you could tell, like if you can just tell a little bit as far as like, a little bit of your journey of, what really led up to you writing your book, and then also tell us the name of your book, as
Okay.
well, and how we can, purchase your book as well.
Okay. My book is called Listen with a Purpose, and it is on Amazon, Amazon.com. You can type in the title, Listen with a Purpose. And you can also go to stephanieallen.org because I really like being personable and being able to autograph the books and I mail them out. So you can actually purchase it through my website, stephanieallen.org. And what led up to me writing the book was I lost my former spouse 21 years ago. My 14-year-old son found his dad collapsed in the bedroom. We called 911 and they transported him to the hospital because he had a faint pulse and he did not make it. But prior to that, he had had a massive heart attack some years ago, had quadruple bypass. And so he had heart disease. And a lot of people didn't know that he had been ill. They thought he just had a massive heart attack just right off the bat. But no, he had congestive heart failure, which we didn't know of at the time. And so that led up to his heart attack. And so we actually lost him that night. And my children were 10 and 14. And so they
Mhm.
left. Oh my God, that was Monday. That was one of the worst Mondays ever. As a matter of fact, that's a chapter in the book called The Worst Monday Ever because it's like,
Mhm.
and to this day, I really don't care for Mondays. And I
Mhm.
really, was depressed and just went into like a kind of reminds me of the groundhog, how you go into the ground. It's like I just went into this deep stage of depression. And
Mhm.
it just left me feeling. I mean, because you wake up and realize, hey, your life is. I thought life was over because it's like your
Mhm.
life has changed forever. It's never going to be the same. And then with two young children, it's like every time I think about it, about that day, I'm thinking my kids came home from school, they're playing with their dad, everything is going, and then you wake up and your dad is not there anymore. Kids don't understand those things. A 10-year-old
Mhm.
daughter and that was very close to her dad, and then my 14-year-old son, and then him finding his dad. And so it was really, really difficult trying to explain. And, you know, uh, when your son says, Mom, why did God take my dad? It's like all these other dads that don't take care of their children. And, so I mean, try explaining that to a 14-year-old. It's like, so
Yeah.
of course my answer was, I said, son, God is trying to give those other dads a chance to get it right. It's like your dad was already a good dad. He was a good husband. He was a good father.
Mhm.
And so I said, I said, God is trying to give them a chance to get it right. So I was always, finding myself trying to find answers for them. And so it was so much easier for me once we started going to counseling because she was able to
Mhm.
shed some light on some of these things and some of the questions that they had, and so it really made my life easier doing that. And that's one thing. If I had to do it all over again, I would definitely make sure to seek professional counseling because
Mhm.
it makes a significant difference in your turnout and the way things are going to turn out for you. And that journey, it's a long journey. It is. My kids are now 34 and 30, and still to this day, it's like, I mean, that's something that you just never get over. You just learn to cope with it, and the holidays bring back those memories, and
Mhm.
that makes it hard. Every year, it's like, I kind of hate to see his birthday coming. I hate to see Father's Day. I mean, the holidays, it's like those they tend to make you feel some type of way. And so I'm not really that thrilled about holidays anymore. Once you have lost so many different loved ones, your
Mhm.
family's just not the same. And you just kind of move through the holidays just because it's customary. And so you just move through them just because. But I mean, things are just never the same. And I've seen so much grief, and that's also how I came. I have a widows group called Wings of a Widow. It's a grief and
Mhm.
support group, and so that's also how that group came about. It actually works in conjunction with my book, and so that group there is really near and dear to my heart, and I want it to be worldwide. It just touch every widow that is in reach, because I need them to know that they're not alone. They're not alone in their grieving process, and just know that there's someone here for them, and that actually understands and actually feels their pain and actually can go through that pain with them. And I can offer the support that they actually need, help them understand, and that it's
Mhm.
a safe place for them to express, their emotions. And, we can all stand strong together and embrace the healing process one step at a time. And
Mhm.
that's a little bit about my story.
Absolutely. My goodness. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I know that I knew, your story, but I think that it is one that needs to be shared with those that are, grieving, those that have experienced losing loved ones, and your story, your book, your group that you're creating. Really, it's a ministry, if you ask me. It's all about a ministry because you do have for because of what you've been through and because of what God has brought you through, you're able to help really empower and inspire and encourage so many others, and not just women, but just so many others that is going through that grieving process as well. Personally, from I can't really say that I have experienced some death from loved ones, of course, a loss from loved ones, but no, nothing of that magnitude. And so I don't want to, downplay any kind of, loss of a loved one. But I will tell you that there are key things that you mentioned today, um, with one being seek counseling is so very important. Um, and I was thinking too, and maybe you can chime on this, Stephanie and Megan, but I was thinking, as you were talking about, how we grieve and those of us that have lost loved ones, I was thinking of, just the grieving journey and how a lot of us are grieving, and maybe it's not the grief of a loved one, maybe it's the grief from a relationship, or like grief, sometimes we don't realize how much bigger it can be. um
Uh-huh.
Again, not to downplay losing a loved one, but when I think of just the whole process of grieving and how you mentioned we have to be willing to, know that we're not alone in this, and it's so important to get support, reach out to someone. Stephanie has already put her information out there, so if you are grieving, need someone to talk to, please reach out to her, connect with her on, social media, and purchase her book as well. But I was just thinking about that from just the whole grieving, the journey of grief, and how, like I said, in my own personal life, I have grieved in so many different ways, and not just from the loss of a loved one. And so anyone want to chime in on, whether it's the grief from a loved one or a grief of, relationship, health struggle, or something, some kind of change in your life. Because I really feel like we go through a grieving process as well. And maybe, Stephanie, you can give us some tips and some more tips and pointers as far as just that whole grieving, journey and how, those that are listening can, really kind of know that there may be some kind of light at the end of the tunnel. And so, yeah, anyone want to chime in on?
There's definitely light at the end of the tunnel. One reason why I want people to remember that they have to remember the self care. That's one of the things in my there's an exercise in my book, but I talk about self care because we have to remember that it's very important for us to have that self care, for us to allow
Mhm.
ourselves to the moments of joy, and we just have to remember in the midst of our sorrow, we have to remember to cherish the beautiful moments that we actually share with our loved ones, with our friends.
Yes.
We have to remember those, and that's how we find comfort, in the love that we shared, especially me being my spouse and the love that we shared. We look at pictures all the time. As a matter of fact, my kids and I, we did an exercise where we all got a photo album, and since they were arguing over the different pictures, they wanted this picture, and so I made us all the same pictures. So our photo albums were all pretty much the same because I made copies of the pictures, so we each had the pictures that we actually wanted because we had so many pictures, so many vacations, and so just having all those memories and having those things to look back on as you get older and share them with their children and their grandchildren because it's like they were not around. It's like my grandson favors my late spouse a lot. He's never even met his grandfather, but he favors him,
Mhm.
acts like him, and so we laugh about that all the time. And it's like I was thinking, man, what a time he would have had he been here to to see his grandchildren. But it's just we just have to remember to be compassionate with ourselves and others.
Mhm.
And I tell you, emotional support because grief is very overwhelming, and then we want
Yes.
to isolate ourselves from the world. But it's very important. I'm telling you, the counseling offers uh, it's a compassionate, non-judgmental platform, and so we can express our feelings there. We don't have to be fearful, and you're not going to be judged or misunderstood. The counseling, that's why they're professionals. They understand what we're going through, and
Mhm.
when we have those emotional breakdowns, they're there to to pick us up, and they're there during those difficult times. And that's why I really stress on the counseling
Yes.
because we want to validate becoming normal again, but it's like it takes a while for us for that to happen because grief is very intense and it's a very confusing journey. Like I said, like
Mhm.
on an emotional roller coaster because of the way the stages of grief actually go. Like I say, one day you're happy, one day you're sad, one day
Mhm.
you're angry, one day you're depressed. So I mean, you're like on this you're it's just a wide range of emotions that come over you, and and as individuals, we don't always understand, and that's where the professional help comes in because they actually help us understand, and they actually can help us validate some of those thoughts and those feelings that we're actually going through. So it's they let you know that you're not alone. And that's the whole
Mhm.
purpose of like my group because like I said, coping with things
Yes.
by yourself, grief actually just interrupts your whole life, really. It interrupts your life and
Mhm.
life is never going to be the same. And we don't even we as an individual, sometimes it's just hard for us to understand and seek the guidance that we need. That's why we need the help of other professionals.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Megan, anything that you want to, any thoughts that you have regarding grief?
I just I just know for me, like it doesn't matter how long ago it's been. The loss is traumatic if it's a parent
Mhm.
or a brother-in-law or whatever. I noticed that for me it comes in waves, right?
Mhm.
When my mom passed, I had to be strong for everybody else. And so
Yeah.
I just got in my flip the switch mode where I'm like, all right, I've got this. I know I have to be strong for everybody, and I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, I can do this. And I mean, my mom passed before I
Yeah.
was who I am today. So I just know that it comes in waves and sometimes you don't even really notice it. So like when my mom's birthday comes or something like that comes, I just kind of notice that I'm a little bit more tense. Like I don't notice it at first, but
Hmm.
I'm a little bit more tense and what is going on? And then I realize, oh, it's my mom's birthday. So like my body
Mhm.
recognizes those things. And so
Yeah.
I've had to I've had to recognize that myself when I start to get maybe a little bit frustrated, or the kids are kind of, oh, what is going on? Why am I so on edge? And then I realize what the day is, or it was the day that she passed, or the day that my grandpa passed, or a moment, whatever it was. So what I've just noticed that I have to do is when I recognize it, I remember, okay, I know what's going on here. So then I have to kind of tell myself or talk to one of my, faith friends or whatever, but it comes in waves. There'll be days where you're great, you're going through your days, you're having a great time, and you're just going on, and living life. And then next thing you know, it just hits you like a brick wall. You just walk right into like a door, and you're like, you kind of, it's like, what's going on? Because like for me, I know where my grandpa is, and I know where my grandma is, and I know that I'm going to see them again someday. So it doesn't hit me as hard. But like for like my mom, I'm not 100% sure because I don't know where she was in life. So sometimes with her on her birthday or Mother's Day is the worst one for me. I walk right into a door and I don't even realize that I've done it until I've noticed, okay, I'm tense today. Like normally he can do that and it doesn't bother me, so then I have to take a step back and say, okay, what's today? Okay, Megan, let's start. What I do is I'm like, let's start talking about my mom, or let's start talking about my grandma, or let's start talking about them so I can think of the happy things and I can think of the good that I had with them, and I can think of all the good rather than the loss that I'm having, because the loss is always going to be there, right? It's always going to be there. So then what I do is I just start talking about the time I did have with them, the good things, the things that they left with me. Like I can walk into my kitchen and see something my grandma left for me, and I just kind of smile. I'm like, oh, she bought me that, she just knew, so that's what I do for me to kind of help me get through the times where I could get tense. Like I don't really get emotional and crying, but I just get tense. I can just feel myself getting tense and I don't even realize it until I look at what the date is, or I look at where I'm at, or I look at what's going on. And so then I'm just like, oh, okay. It's, I missed my grandma today. So I want to talk about my grandma, or, oh, I missed my brother-in-law, he left way too soon. And so I just kind of, I just talk about him, keep him alive,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think what I've heard both of you say is that grief is very much individual and unique. And that means that everyone's grief experience is going to be different, right? So there is no, no right way to grieve. And everyone kind of goes through, their own journey of grieving. And then also when we think about grief, there is no time frame, right? So no matter how long ago your loved one, may have passed away, there, there's, like you said, there are those moments that you just tense up. There's those moments when you just, with birthdays and, Mother's Day, Father's Day, that it just reminds you. And so we have to be willing to understand that there's not a time frame when it comes down to us grieving. And I'm not sure exactly where it is in the Bible, but I think it says for everything there is a season and a time, for every matter under heaven. And so that's where it's a reminder to us to allow ourselves to mourn, and that it's okay. And I think, Stephanie, you said that it's okay not to be okay, right? It's our, it's up to us to decide when we're ready to, just to continue on with, our life and everything else. It's up to us to decide.
It really is.
Which
It's
I
up to
think
us to
that
decide.
in itself.
Yes.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Stephanie. Yes.
It is because, with my children, like I said, they were 10 and 14 at the time that their dad passed away, and now they're 30 and 34. But still, um, when something like that happens in a child's life at an early age, it's like that is with them. Those thoughts are with them for the rest of their lives, and it's like their life is never going to be the same. And so it's like they never get over that. I mean, I could not imagine losing my dad at I'm 57. My dad is still living, and so I couldn't imagine. The thoughts go through my mind all the time, wondering how the children are, how they're taking their dad's birthday every year. It's like I always worry about the children. I mean, they're adults now, but I still always worry, like, I wonder if they know today is their dad's birthday, because it's like you go through life trying to hide these things, not wanting them to see you grieve, and they're grieving. So we don't even talk about it, we
Mhm.
rarely talk about it anymore. We know that it's his birthday, and then when Father's Day comes, some days, some years they're okay, other years they're not. So it's like you never know. It's like you're just constantly just wondering, wondering, wondering. But it's just we just have to be like I said, always know that grief is a journey, and people move back and forth with grief. They move back and forth through the stages, and everybody deals with it differently. Some people
Yeah.
cry, some people get angry, some people, laugh out at others. But I mean, everybody deals with it in their own way, and we just have to give people the space that they need to grieve. We have to,
Mhm.
let them seek the support that they need from loved ones or from professionals, and just kind of just you have to let people just do their own thing, more or less. And but the journey is it's a never ending journey, and it's always going to be there. I mean, grief is it is. I mean, some people never process grief. I mean, I have a sister-in-law, bless her heart. I tried to get her to go to counseling. She went to a few sessions and never did. I mean, she talks about her husband to this day as if he's still present, and we've been without him for about 7 or 8 years now. But she refuses to accept it, and she did not
Mhm.
do well with her grieving process, and she still hasn't really dealt with it, and she's going through a lot right now. I talk to her often because I try and, coach her through some things and help her and talk to her about it. But it's like that just goes to show you how different people are when it comes to accepting things or dealing with certain issues. Everybody doesn't deal with grief, the same way, and everybody has their time. And so, my heart goes out to her, and that's why I thank God that I'm strong enough, because there was a time when I couldn't even talk about this day
Mhm.
without having a mental meltdown myself. And so I thank God for the wisdom and the knowledge and for the strength to just be able to talk about this and help others, go through their grieving process. And because I'm telling you, it's difficult. It was very difficult. I would be driving down the street to the hospital where my husband passed away at. I would look at the top of the hospital and see this big cross, and I would just burst into tears. I'm thinking,
Mhm.
and people are probably looking like, what, they think I should have gotten over by now also because I'm remarried, but they don't understand 17 years of your life doesn't just go away.
Right.
It
Right.
doesn't go away, especially when you have two constant reminders. My children both look just like their dad. And so people always think that you should get over it. It's like, aren't you over that? It's like, people would just say, they don't even know the hurtful things that they still say. And you
Mhm.
just kind of smile and you
Right.
just go on about your day because they don't
Yeah.
understand. Until it happens to you,
Mhm.
you just won't understand.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Back to you,
Yes.
Jerisha.
Good. Yeah.
Yes, which I mean, you just mentioned that grief absolutely needs to be acknowledged. It needs to be
Mhm.
expressed in a safe and healthy way. And so, it's not maybe it can be damaging, I guess is the word I'm looking for, if we hold grief inside and not seek counseling, not seek support. It can be very damaging to us. And so, as we close out, or before we close out, um, I would love it, Stephanie, if you would tell us again just how we can, be a part of your Facebook group, and then, how anyone that is looking for support and wants to really connect with you. Again, tell us exactly how we can, reach out to you and support, be a part of
Anyone
your
that
group.
wants to join my Facebook group, it's called Wings of a Widow. You can send me a inbox and my instant messenger, Stephanie Allen on Facebook, and I will add you to my group. And if you know any other widows or anyone that actually the group is centered towards widows, but anyone that is grieving, anyone that wants to join my grief support group, I'm really working on getting that group to 100 people as soon as possible. And so anyway, I'm going to start reaching out to people that are just grieving, period, because I really want to grow that platform huge. And then
Mhm.
to purchase my books, you can actually purchase a book through stephanieallen.org. I will autograph it and mail it out to you in the mail, or you can purchase through Amazon.com. And the book is called Listen with a Purpose. Um,
Mhm.
and I am so excited about growing the group. It's been going really well. I really would love for any input from anyone that wants to help grow the group as well. But it's called Wings of a Widow. And I thank God for giving me the knowledge and the wisdom to start this group and to write this platform because
Mhm.
it has been very, very beneficial to a lot of people. And I'm always receiving messages from, different people on how I have helped them. And so you never know, even just a little small thing, just a kind word to someone, when they're going through a rough day, from losing a loved one or, you just never know. Just your kindness means so much to people, and I'm just always
Mhm.
thankful and just to know that I actually I can relate to them. I'm not just, some people just say things to be saying them, but it's like actually I have something that I can actually relate to. And like I said, grief, it's near and dear to my heart. Going through what I went through and still being strong enough to talk about it and deal with it and help
Mhm.
other people today. So I mean, I embrace the topic all the time, and just to know that hey, when the world comes crashing down on you, just to let people know that hey, you're not alone. I'm here for you, and
Mhm.
that's where I want to be. I want to be there to go through the journey with them. And like I said, it's okay to cry, and it's okay not to be okay because some days I'm not okay. Jerisha knows I've called her many days that I'm not okay, and she
Mhm.
look. Even when I don't want to smile, she's gonna make me smile before I get off the phone. And so I thank God for her. I tell her all the time, I thank God for allowing us to cross paths because, hey, I'm the sister that she never had, and I thank God for her. We just, hey, we are inseparable. Back to you,
Absolutely.
Jerisha.
Yes. Thank you so much for that. Megan, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I would just like to say the scripture that you were referencing was Ecclesiastes 3:1-8. So, that is a very strong scripture to read, if you're battling grief or whatever, to kind of talk about the seasons, like what you said. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. Another thing that I want to say is, you do not have to feel bad because you're still crying, you're still upset, you're still going through things. You don't have to. But one thing that I want to encourage you on is please don't think that you're going to hurt somebody else or bother somebody else if you need to reach out, because I think sometimes with us when we're grieving, we don't want to be a bother to somebody else. They've got their own stuff going on, or whatever the case is. Get that out of your mind. You've got people that you can call, you can talk to. You're never a bother. If you need to call and just cry on the phone, or you just need to scream on the phone to somebody or whatever, don't ever feel like they are saying you're alone. That is always open. I mean, you should. I'm here if you want to do that. You don't even know me. You don't have to, but I'll tell you, I'm here if you'd like to do that. But don't ever feel like you can't reach out to somebody. Don't get yourself stuck in that pit, because that's a pit that you get stuck in. And there's so many people out here that are willing to just be on the phone, listen to you, love you, tell you, hey, I'm here for you. And don't ever be afraid to allow somebody to help grow you too, and build you up too. Like, people are here wanting to help you. So just let them, and you just let it out if you need to. So that's one thing I just wanted to say. Don't get stuck in thinking that you have to do it alone and you can't reach out, because you always can. Someone's there for you.
Absolutely. That's so good. Thank you both for sharing that. And what I will say, just to, close this out, is in the words of Harriet Beecher Stowe, she said, there is no grief like the grief that does not speak. So we have to allow our voice, or allow our grief
Mm-hmm.
a voice, allow your grief a voice, that is, and let it speak in whatever language it knows, be it tears, be it, silence, whatever language that it knows. And so on that note, um, I hope that with today's episode, that episode and conversation, it truly helps you find strength today. Remember, as we've said, and as Megan just reminded us, as well as Stephanie, is that you are not alone in your journey of grief. And healing is not only possible, but inevitable. So keep the faith and keep going. Until next time, be blessed, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you for joining us on Mom Boss Talk Radio. Follow each of the Mom Bosses on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you love Mom Boss Radio, visit the website at www.envisionedbroadcasting.com. We'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes. Until next time.